everyone. I am Arrayus, and I am discussing a single from my album, Silver Lining, which is number 4 on the record Vices, which is my second studio record. And Silver Lining is representative in the Dante's Inferno canon of the circle of hell that is greed or avarice and prodigality. I did have to Google avarice before when I first learned everything, like prodigality. I got that. Avarice. Nice. I was like, I'm not from, like 1600. I don't know what that means. So I looked it up, and it is ultimately greed and just, self-decadence and, I guess indulging is kind of what it came down to. And Silver Lining is that tale. I am here with Brett, and we are just discussing it today. And I will kind of, before you ask me any questions, I guess, that you have on sound, I just wanted to open a little bit with why it fell into that circle of hell.
Right, for sure.
And now I feel like I want to start getting into more of the biblical background of the record. And so you, as someone who grew up in the church or still goes to church now, you've obviously heard the story of the prodigal son.
Right.
And the prodigal son is when he, doesn't get the dowry or the money or whatever that was supposed to, from his father, and he then runs off, he does get the money, and then he runs off and then spends it all and blows it all and all these things, and then he's broke and very just depressed, and he doesn't know if he can come back home. And then, eventually he comes back and his father welcomes him with open arms. This is a fable. It's a metaphor for so many different, relationships and just, unconditional love of God and all these things. But I thought it would be really interesting to kind of take an experience that happened to me and stretch the truth a little bit and make it this prodigal daughter story.
Okay.
So kind of similarly, I hung out around in bars a lot during this, after I left the religious schooling that I was at in college, when I withdrew from that and went to a different college and transferred and everything, moved back to Chicago from LA. I became a bartender basically as soon as I turned 21, and I then kind of got wrapped up in bar culture and just went to a lot of bars, and I was hanging out with this bartender that I eventually found out did a bunch of cocaine. And although I never knew that about him, and I, again, never dated him, I was interested for a while, and this was kind of amusing on what my life would have been like possibly had I pursued a relationship with him, even though I liked him a lot. But he used me for so many things that he would say, oh, we're leaving. Oh, we're going to go. And oh, can you just drive me home? And I'd be like, yeah, totally. Mm-hmm. And then I wouldn't be driving him home. I'd be driving him to pick up drugs.
Right.
And I was like, how could he lie to me? And it's this addict's mindset that I had never really encountered, because that isn't really prevalent in my family at all, until then I encountered it with this person. And so the whole prodigal daughter aspect is because I'm addicted to him, I am also falling into the substance and down the rabbit hole and sort of leaving the home and leaving the family and the people that care about me, and this love setting for this, self-indulgence and greed.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's kind of a different perspective when you take it that way, but it makes sense. And, and I mean, you can see it now that you say that. You think about the lyrics in the song, what the song means, the silver lining. It just all paints the picture for me. So I love that. But one thing I also wanted to tap in with this song specifically, and I know I've said this a bunch already, but it's true. You have a lot of distinct things that you portray to paint the picture of the song, to, really pull things together. And one thing that stood out to me about this song, is the radio chatter, I guess, is what you could call it. And it's towards the end. What does that radio chatter stand for, and why is it in that section of the song? It's very prominent. What can you tell me about that?
Absolutely. So that's kind of leading into this final outro chorus type thing that we do, that's almost like a sonic bridge, for me in a lot of ways, that kind of sets a new or a different tone, and actually, in my opinion, kind of perpetuates the story. The radio chatter is sort of like police scanner, at least in my mind, to me. People talking on walkie-talkies, or their little thing that how they communicate, like, oh, you know, like
10-4.
10-4, yeah. Like, you know, we got a this, we got a 182. And so that's sort of the vibe that I wanted to give off. So the first verse is me meeting this person and like the casual exchange, going back to the apartment. It's a good time. Start to become interested. The second verse is like, now we're in the thick of this. I've left. I'm all in with him. We're staying up for days. We don't have money, you know, and like I'm doing so many things that I was told not to do. Like, you're warned by your loving parents and all these things not to fall into. And it's just not who I am. But like, I'm still just so drawn to this person that I will give up all of my morals and all of my like virtue in so many ways in order to fit myself to this mold of this person, because they are the addiction to me, even though they are addicted to something else. And so then by the time like I reach that police scanner, like honestly, like very darkly, what I envision is that's when the police are finally called. Someone finds out, like IOD, he ODs, like something like that is what's happening in my mind in the story. And that last outro, although powerful in some ways, starts so small, like this, like it's almost to yourself, like this very, again, days, hey, I'm okay. You know, like, don't even worry about it. Like, hey man, like, it's like, like, it's fine. You know, like, it's just like this mumbling, this self-talk to kind of like get you through, even though you are at that point just high, you know? And that's sort of like the dark answer to that. But again,
no, I love it. I love that explanation. And that's what's so cool about music, because you could take one little piece of a song like that and it can turn into so much picture painting when it comes to the actual song.
Yeah. I thought that was like, again, just it perpetuated the story through sound. And again, that's just something that I've really learned with this album.
No, it's awesome.
And in something that I do want to say kind of relating to this song is that like I grew up in theater, musical theater, and in orchestra, and I actually played the violin, not as long as piano, but I played the violin. Wasn't that good, honestly. You know, I was all right, but like I think the violin, if you're not like a junior in college and you're not pursuing, you know, violin performance, it's a little rough. So like,
I'm sure I've never dabbled in the violin, but I'm sure it would be easy.
So like, thank you, Mom and Dad and everybody for listening to me practice, you know, like this screechy violin. But anyways, I love strings, even though I didn't stick with, I stuck with piano, and I ended up, once I got into college and orchestra and everything like that, I ended up going to play bassoon.
Right.
But violin and strings was always a group of instruments that I admired so much. Like if I could go back and choose an instrument right now that I wanted to play, it would like 100% be the cello.
Oh, wow.
And so I love having this. I still loved orchestra and I loved band, and it's sonically a tribute to my roots of growing up as like kind of a band nerd and going to like youth symphony of whatever, of insert, you know, county or town or city. And I think that being able to bring that into pop music is really, really cool. And then adding so many, again, unique sounds to have it be this like big modern orchestra is something really powerful and tells the story very well, you know? But yeah, other than that, I think that this song really just comes back to me being honest about my experience in life and not hiding the dark and the light parts, and you know,
and of what could have been too,
and of what could have been, right? Like even if none of this ever happened, at least I had somewhere with all.
There was a path where it was going.
There was a path, and it was distinctive, and you could visualize it. And I feel like everyone has kind of been in that position in their lives, and also like I see now I have such sympathy for people that do struggle with addiction and how much of an illness that it is, and I think that we need to have a lot more grace and a lot more love towards people that need help and are trying to get better, instead of like, oh, well, just stop, or like, this is wrong. You know, it's like, well, you don't know what got them there, and you don't know the journey and the path that brought them to that point. So I think that people knowing that me as an artist, like these are the points and these are the morals that I hold to be true, hopefully is important and helps people too. Thank you so much, Brett.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everybody, for listening. Please go ahead and feel free to stream Silver Lining, which is on my second studio album, Vices, now available everywhere.